Welcome to Japanese Sleep Whispers, your sanctuary for peaceful nights and gentle dreams. Here, you will find calming bedtime stories inspired by the timeless beauty and traditions of Japan. Each story is read slowly in a soothing voice, accompanied by natural sounds such as flowing rivers and the tranquil rhythm of shishi-odoshi. Whether you seek relaxation, relief from stress, or help falling asleep, these tales invite you to drift away into a world of serenity. Imagine quiet temples, moonlit gardens, and the whispering bamboo forests as you listen. If you'd like these soothing stories to be part of your nightly routine, consider subscribing so they're always with you when you need them. Subscribe and let these stories be your nightly ritual of calm and rest. Thank you for being here. May you always find peace in every moment. The gentle whisper of falling snow. Prologue: the first snowfall. In a quiet mountain village of Japan, the first snow always came with a hush so deep that even the sparrows seemed to pause their wings. The valley, lined with cedar and bamboo, turned slowly white beneath a sky that held its breath. The river, narrow and winding, moved under the ice with a soft murmur, as though whispering secrets meant only for the stones at its bottom. Haru, a boy of 12, pressed his face against the wooden frame of the sliding door. He could see the snow drifting down, each flake unique, yet falling together in harmony. The roof of his family's home wore a growing blanket of white, and the lantern outside glowed faintly through the curtain of snowfall. His grandfather, a man whose back was bent like the old willow near the river, sat by the hearth. The faint crackle of firewood filled the silence. He looked at the boy with a calm gaze and said, "Listen, Haru. The snow is never truly silent. If you are patient, you will hear its whisper." Haru tilted his head, closing his eyes. At first, there was nothing, only the faint beat of his own heart. Then, slowly, he caught it, a gentle sound, softer than a sigh, as if the sky itself breathed upon the earth. That night, Haru dreamed of walking through an endless field of snow. With each step, the ground glowed faintly, and a bridge of light stretched ahead, vanishing into the horizon. He knew, though he could not explain why, that the snow itself was leading him somewhere toward a place hidden but waiting. The first snowfall was not just weather, it was an opening, a door to another path. And Haru, without yet knowing, had already begun his journey. Chapter 1: The Snow Lantern. The following evening, the villagers prepared for their small winter ritual, the lighting of snow lanterns. Children shaped towers of packed snow along the narrow paths, and within each hollow space, a candle was placed. As twilight deepened, flames flickered to life, glowing warm within their icy chambers. Haru walked beside his grandfather, watching the lanterns burn. The snow caught their light and scattered it, turning the night into a corridor of stars. Each lantern seemed alive, its flame bending as if bowing to the passing wind. "Do you see?" his grandfather asked. "The snow and the fire are opposites, yet together they make something beautiful." The snow listens, and the flame speaks. Together, they tell us that even silence has a story. Haru crouched beside one lantern. He cupped his hands near its opening, feeling the faint warmth. Inside, the flame danced gently, and for a moment he thought he heard a murmur not from the candle, not from the snow, but from both together. Later, when the lanterns lined the river bank, Haru paused. Their reflections shimmered upon the water's dark surface, linking one flame to another. To his eyes, they formed an arch, a bridge of light stretching across the flowing current. A quiet thrill passed through him. The same bridge he had seen in his dream was now appearing in the river's reflection. He wanted to tell his grandfather, but something stopped him. Instead, he stood in silence, letting the vision sink into his heart. That night, as the snow continued to fall, Haru whispered to himself, "The snow is guiding me." And somewhere in the hush of the village, the snow whispered back. Chapter 2: The Bamboo Grove in Snow. The morning after the Lantern Festival, Haru wandered into the bamboo grove behind his home. The tall stalks, capped with snow, swayed gently as the wind passed, creating a soft rustling sound that seemed like a secret conversation. The sunlight filtered through the white branches, scattering in delicate patterns across the ground. Haru walked slowly, feeling as if he were passing through another world, a world where time had paused, and each step was measured in silence. He noticed small tracks in the snow, some belonging to birds, some to foxes, all converging toward the deeper grove. Following them, he came to a small clearing, where the snow lay untouched and pure. His grandfather appeared quietly behind him. "Even in the coldest winter, life moves beneath the snow," he said. "The bamboo listens to the wind and remembers the paths of those who passed before. Pay attention, and you will learn their story." Haru knelt, pressing his fingers into the snow. The grove seemed to respond, the stalks swaying slightly as if acknowledging his presence. The boy understood, without words, that the grove held patience, memory, and quiet wisdom, lessons the snow itself carried. Chapter 3: The River Beneath Ice. Later that day, Haru walked to the river, where the water flowed beneath a thick layer of ice. He tapped it gently with a stick, and the sound resonated like a soft drumbeat underfoot. The river's current whispered below the frozen surface, speaking in a language older than the mountains. Haru crouched, placing his ear near the ice. He imagined voices of travelers long gone, walking the hidden bridge that crossed the valley in dreams, their footsteps carried along by the current. His grandfather stood nearby. "Even when frozen, the river remembers," he said. "It keeps the stories of winter, of crossings, of quiet paths." Haru traced the edge of the ice with his fingers, feeling its cold strength. Beneath it, the river seemed alive, moving with secrets and memories, a bridge beneath the visible one. That night, he dreamed of stepping upon it, walking through the cold waters as if they were air, each ripple carrying the echo of 1,000 whispered journeys. Chapter 4: The Willow's Whisper. At the river bank grew a long, old willow, its branches drooping under snow. Haru rested beneath it, letting the white weight brush gently against his shoulders. The branches swayed slightly, as though breathing in rhythm with him. He closed his eyes and listened. The willow seemed to murmur stories of the river, of the bamboo grove, of snow-laden fields. Each sound was a note in a quiet song, soft but persistent. "The willow remembers everything," his grandfather said softly. "Even what falls quietly, unseen. It whispers to those who pause and listen." Haru opened his eyes, feeling the snow settle on his lashes. He felt a connection to everything: the grove, the river, the willow, and the snow. The world seemed suspended in gentle anticipation, as if waiting for him to take the next step along the hidden path that stretched ahead. Chapter 5: The Hidden Snow Bridge. Haru woke early to a pale light reflecting off the fresh snow. Beyond the village, a small wooden bridge spanned a narrow creek. It had been hidden beneath a layer of white, the boards dusted in powder so fine it shimmered like sugar in the morning sun. He approached it slowly, feeling the weight of silence around him. Each step on the snow-crusted boards was soft, almost swallowed by the wind. Haru knelt to touch the wood, noticing faint patterns etched by frost, delicate as lace. His grandfather joined him, leaning on his staff. "Some bridges exist only when we notice them," he said. "The snow shows us the way, but we must choose to see it." Haru took a deep breath and stepped across, feeling the bridge hum beneath him, not with sound, but with presence. Each step was a whisper, each breath a ripple across the white surface. The hidden snow bridge seemed to stretch farther than he could see, leading to a path known only to winter and dreams. Chapter 6: Lanterns Along the Night Path. That evening, the village streets glowed with lanterns. Families had placed small lights along the snow-laden lanes, casting warm circles across the cold white ground. Haru wandered among them, feeling the gentle heat and soft flicker. He noticed how the lanterns reflected on frozen puddles, creating twin flames in the ice. The effect reminded him of the bridge at the river, stretching across reflections as though the real and imagined worlds overlapped. "Light is a traveler's companion," his grandfather said. "Even in darkness, it guides the steps of those who follow quietly." Haru knelt beside one lantern, cupping his hands near its glow. For a brief moment, the flame seemed to pulse, echoing the rhythm of his heartbeat. He imagined walking across a bridge made entirely of lantern light, each step illuminating a path through the night. Chapter 7: The River of Floating Lights. Near the edge of the village, the river flowed gently beneath its icy surface. That night, Haru watched as villagers placed small lanterns on the water, letting them drift downstream. The lights bobbed slowly, reflecting in the ice like stars scattered across the river. Haru followed the drifting lanterns with his eyes, noticing how they formed subtle arches across the water. It reminded him of the hidden snow bridge from the morning, now reflected in gentle, moving points of light. "Even the river joins in the story," his grandfather said. "Each light is a note, each movement a step on a path that continues unseen." Haru closed his eyes, imagining the lanterns carrying messages and memories across the river, guiding all who were willing to follow. The night was filled with soft warmth, the whisper of snow, and the gentle rhythm of flowing water, a lullaby that seemed to promise more discoveries with each crossing. Chapter 8: The Bamboo Path in Winter. Haru returned to the bamboo grove one quiet morning, when the snow lay thick and undisturbed. The stalks stood tall, their green softened by the heavy white caps. As the wind passed, they swayed together, creaking gently like an old song that the earth had remembered. The path through the grove seemed different this time. Snow had reshaped the ground, hiding the usual tracks. Haru stepped carefully, each footprint leaving a soft indentation that disappeared almost as quickly as it was made, filled by falling flakes. As he walked, he heard something subtle, a low hum, not from the wind alone, but from within the bamboo itself. Each stalk seemed to carry a note, and together they formed a harmony so gentle it felt like breathing. His grandfather's voice came from behind him. "The bamboo carries winter's heartbeat. Listen long enough, and you will hear the bridge within its music." Haru closed his eyes, and for a moment, the path before him seemed to arch upward like a hidden bridge, leading deeper into the grove's silence. Chapter 9: The Valley in Mist. Later, Haru and his grandfather climbed to a ridge overlooking the valley. A thick mist had rolled in, covering the snow below in a pale, shifting sea. Only the tops of tall trees and the roof of the shrine lantern tower pierced the fog. The silence of the mist was different from snow. It was heavier, holding everything close, blurring the edges of the world. As Haru gazed into the shifting white, he felt as though he were standing at the edge of two worlds, the one he knew, and the one hidden beneath the mist. He thought he saw shapes forming in the fog arches, faint outlines of bridges that rose and fell, vanishing before they were complete. He blinked, but the vision persisted, as though the mist itself was sketching paths across the valley. "Not all bridges are seen with the eyes," his grandfather whispered. "Some appear only when the heart is still enough to receive them." The boy inhaled deeply, the mist cool on his breath, and felt the valley's hidden bridges stir within him. Chapter 10: The Shadow of the Bridge. That evening, as twilight deepened, Haru sat beside the river. The moon had not yet risen, and the world was a wash of indigo and silver. Snowflakes drifted, catching what little light remained, their descent slow and deliberate. On the river's surface, he saw it the faint outline of a bridge in shadow. It was not solid wood, nor ice, nor light. It was the absence of all three, a shape defined by silence itself. Haru leaned forward, mesmerized. The shadow bridge did not touch the water, nor did it cross entirely. It lingered between, half real, half imagined. His grandfather placed a hand on his shoulder. The bridge shows itself in many forms. Some are clear, others are only shadows. Each teaches us to cross in different ways. As the snow whispered around him, Haru felt the weight of possibility. The bridge of shadow seemed to wait, patient and timeless, for the day he would have the courage to step upon it. Chapter 11: The Garden Beneath Snow. Behind Haru's home lay a small garden, long asleep under layers of white. Stones, once carefully arranged, were now softened by snow. The pond was sealed by ice, reflecting only the faintest glimmer of light. One afternoon, Haru brushed away a patch of snow from a buried rock. Beneath it, moss still lived green, breathing, waiting. He stared at it in wonder, realizing that life continued even under the heaviest silence. His grandfather watched him quietly. "Snow does not end the garden," he said. "It only protects it, keeping it safe until spring." That night, Haru dreamed of the garden fully awake. Plum blossoms unfolded from branches, koi swam beneath clear water, and every stone seemed to glow. In the center, a bridge arched across the pond, delicate as frost. When he stepped onto it, the snow above opened into light. Chapter 12: The Shrine in Winter. On the edge of the village stood a small Shinto shrine, its torii gate half buried in snow. Haru and his grandfather climbed the path to it one clear morning, their breath rising in clouds. The shrine bell hung silent, icicles dangling from its rim. Haru tugged the rope, and the sound that followed was deep and resonant, filling the still air. It seemed to echo not only through the valley, but within his chest. They lit incense before the altar. The smoke rose slowly, curling into the cold. Haru thought it looked like another bridge, one made of scent and air, leading upward into the unseen. His grandfather bowed, murmuring a prayer. Even the gods listen more closely in winter. The silence carries words farther. Haru closed his eyes, whispering his own wish, though he could not yet put it fully into words. He only knew it had to do with the bridges that appeared in snow, light, and shadow. Chapter 13: The Dream Bridge. That night, Haru's sleep was deep, and his dream vivid. He stood on a vast plain of snow that stretched without end. Above him, stars glittered like frozen lanterns. Before him appeared a bridge, glowing faintly, made of snowflakes suspended in the air. Each step shimmered as though it might vanish, yet when Haru placed his foot upon it, the bridge held firm. He walked slowly, the snowflakes brightening beneath him, forming an endless arch that curved across the horizon. From behind, he heard sparrows singing a chorus softer than the wind. Their voices seemed to guide him, echoing in harmony with each step he took. When he turned, he saw his grandfather standing far away, watching with a calm smile. The dream did not frighten Haru. Instead, it filled him with a deep peace, as though the path ahead had always been waiting. He woke with the faint sound of sparrows still in his ears, and the feeling that the dream bridge was more real than stone or wood. Chapter 14: The Prayer in Snow. The night was still, the air heavy with falling flakes. Haru followed his grandfather to the hilltop shrine once more. Lanterns glowed faintly in the snow, their light trembling like fragile stars. They stood in silence before the altar. Haru's grandfather bowed deeply, his breath clouding in the air. Haru imitated him, folding his hands and closing his eyes. In the hush, he whispered his wish not in words, but in feelings. A longing for guidance, for understanding the path the snow seemed to open before him. When he opened his eyes, he noticed something strange. The snowflakes falling between the lanterns did not scatter randomly. They drifted in arcs, forming soft curves like steps of an unseen bridge. His grandfather touched his shoulder and spoke gently. "Every prayer is a step, Haru. Each one builds the bridge." Chapter 15 The Frozen River's Song. The river had grown thick with ice, yet a faint current still moved beneath. Haru knelt at its edge, brushing snow away to reveal the frozen surface. At first, there was silence, but then came a low hum, resonant and deep. It pulsed through the ice like a heartbeat, growing stronger the longer he listened. Haru placed his palm flat upon the ice. The vibration tingled in his fingers. The river was singing not with words, but with a melody older than the mountains. He imagined the river's song as a bridge, carrying voices from long ago across the frozen surface. The sound was faint, but steady, as if inviting him to follow. His grandfather joined him, kneeling by his side. "The river never sleeps," he said. "Even when it is bound by ice, its song flows. It is a path for those who listen." Haru closed his eyes, and in his mind, he saw the frozen river stretch out as a shining corridor, the current itself shaping into steps of light and shadow. Chapter 16 The Starlit Reflection. That evening, the clouds cleared, and the stars shone sharply in the winter sky. Haru walked to the river bank, where the water, though half frozen, still reflected the heavens. He gazed into the dark surface, seeing the stars shimmer in the ripples. The reflection stretched, curved, and for a fleeting moment, formed the outline of a bridge made entirely of starlight. The bridge glowed faintly, its arc shimmering between earth and sky. Haru's breath caught. It was both near and far, fragile and eternal. He whispered into the night, "I see it." From the willow behind him came the faint rustle of branches, as though the world acknowledged his words. When his grandfather approached, Haru pointed toward the reflection. "Do you see the bridge?" he asked. The old man smiled softly. "I see the stars, Haru. But the bridge is yours to see. That means it is calling you." Haru's heart swelled with quiet wonder. He knew the bridge was not only in his dreams, it was here, in snow, in river, in stars, waiting for him to walk its path. Chapter 17 The Snowlit Path. The moon rose high above the valley, silver light pouring across the snow. Haru stepped outside, wrapped in his thick cloak, and found the entire village bathed in a pale glow. The snow underfoot glittered as though dusted with diamonds. Each step left a faint impression, shining softly until the wind smoothed it away. Haru walked along the narrow path leading toward the woods, his shadow long and delicate upon the white ground. As he walked, the path seemed to shift. The snow itself formed gentle arches, curving upward like the faint outline of a bridge. For a moment, Haru felt he was no longer walking the village road, but the beginning of another crossing. He paused, listening. The silence was filled with presence. The snow was alive, whispering with every falling flake. Chapter 18: The Sleeping Forest. Beyond the village stood an ancient forest, its trees tall and heavy with snow. Haru entered quietly, his breath visible in the frozen air. The branches above bent low, forming an archway that resembled the entrance to a hidden temple. The forest seemed asleep, yet its stillness carried a deep awareness. Each tree leaned slightly, as though listening. The snow muffled all sound, turning Haru's footsteps into soft echoes swallowed by the earth. He stopped beneath a cedar so vast its roots rose like walls. When he placed his hand on its trunk, he felt warmth beneath the bark, faint but steady. Life pulsed within, even as winter wrapped the forest in silence. His grandfather's voice came to him. Though the old man was not beside him, the forest is never truly asleep. It dreams, and in its dreaming, it builds bridges of memory. Haru closed his eyes, and the forest's dream reached him, a vision of countless bridges arching between the trees. Each one glowing faintly, carrying stories of generations past. Chapter 19: The Bridge Between Dreams. That night, Haru lay by the hearth, drifting into slumber. His dreams came swiftly, carrying him once more to the snowfield without end. This time, the bridge appeared not of snow or stars, but of mist, shifting with each breath. When Haru stepped onto it, the bridge did not crumble. Instead, it stretched ahead, forming with his every step, as though built by his will alone. He heard sparrows singing somewhere distant, their voices weaving with the sound of falling snow. The song seemed to say, between waking and dreaming, the path is one. Half awake, Haru stirred by the fire, hearing both the crackle of wood and the sparrow's faint song. For a moment, he did not know whether he dreamed or woke. The bridge arched above him still, luminous in both realms, binding dream and reality together. When he finally opened his eyes, he whispered, "The bridge is always here even when I cannot see it." Chapter 20: The Night of Winter Solstice. The longest night of the year arrived. The villagers gathered quietly, placing lanterns at the shrine and along the river bank. Their glow shimmered faintly in the snow, marking the passage of time as the moon climbed slowly overhead. Haru stood with his grandfather, watching the lanterns flicker against the darkness. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of cedar smoke from nearby homes. This night, his grandfather whispered, is when the veil between seasons is thinnest. The snow listens most closely, and the bridge reveals itself more clearly. As the villagers prayed in silence, Haru noticed the snowflakes fall in arcs, weaving together above the river. For a brief moment, the pattern became unmistakable, the outline of a luminous bridge stretching across the night sky. His breath caught, but no words came. The bridge was not only in his dreams, it lived in the longest night, waiting patiently for those who would walk it. Chapter 21 The Hidden Path. The following morning, after the solstice, Haru walked beyond the fields toward the forest. The snow was deep, hiding familiar landmarks. He wandered carefully, uncertain of the way. Then he saw a faint trail pressed into the snow, almost invisible. The footprints were not fresh, but they guided him toward the bamboo grove. Each step he followed felt heavier with meaning. The path wound between trees, curved around stones, and finally opened into a small clearing. There, untouched snow glistened in sunlight, and in its shimmer, Haru thought he saw another bridge, this one made of light upon the surface of snow itself. He whispered aloud, "The path is hidden, but it waits." From above, a sparrow's cry answered him, soft and fleeting, as though affirming his discovery. Chapter 22 The Bridge of Stars. That night, Haru could not sleep. He stepped outside into the cold, where the sky was ablaze with stars. Each one gleamed sharp and close, as if the heavens had lowered themselves toward the earth. He lay back upon the snow, staring upward. Slowly, the stars seemed to shift, aligning in arcs and curves. Before his eyes, a celestial bridge formed across the night sky, spanning from one horizon to the other. Haru felt small beneath its grandeur, yet deeply connected. The same bridge he had glimpsed in rivers, in lanterns, in dreams, now shone across the heavens. His grandfather's voice came softly behind him. "When you see the bridge in the stars, it means your journey is not just here, but everywhere. The path belongs to the sky as much as to the snow." Haru's eyes filled with quiet wonder. He understood then that the bridge was eternal, woven into snow, into rivers, into stars, and that each step he took was part of something greater, something endless. Chapter 23 Moonlight by the River. The river lay half frozen, its surface glimmering faintly under the full moon. Haru and his grandfather walked slowly along the bank, their lantern dim beside the silver light cast from above. The ice cracked softly at times, echoing like distant bells. Beneath the frozen surface, water still flowed, carrying whispers of hidden songs. Haru leaned over to see his reflection mingled with the moon. The rippling image seemed to stretch into an arch, shimmering like a bridge suspended across water and sky. His grandfather touched his shoulder gently. Moonlight builds bridges, too. They last only as long as the night, but their memory lingers in the heart. Haru nodded, gazing at the luminous water, wishing to remember the sound and sight forever. Chapter 24 Memories in Snow. The following morning, snow fell heavily than before. The village was hushed, blanketed in white so thick it muffled even footsteps. Haru stayed near the hearth, listening to the snow against the roof. Each flake seemed to carry a memory, the laughter of children playing, the voices of ancestors, the dreams of seasons long past. When he stepped outside, he saw shapes faintly etched in snow patterns left by wind and time. To him, they resembled footprints, though none had walked there. His grandfather explained softly, "Snow remembers everything. Even what we forget, it keeps. That is why each winter feels both new and familiar." Haru closed his eyes and let the snow settle on his face. In that quiet, he felt he was listening not just to winter, but to the memories of all who had come before. Chapter 25 The Bridge Embraced by Sleep. That night, Haru lay beside the fire, wrapped in thick blankets. Sleep came gently, carrying him into a dream where snowflakes floated endlessly around him. From their soft fall, a bridge slowly formed, delicate, glowing faintly, as if woven from slumber itself. Each step upon it felt like sinking into deeper rest, the world growing quieter with every breath. The sparrows appeared again, their wings silent this time, their presence calm. They perched along the bridge, guiding him with stillness rather than song. At the far end of the bridge, Haru saw no figure, no shrine, no river. Only a vast expanse of gentle light, waiting. He did not fear it. Instead, he felt embraced, as though the bridge itself was carrying him into rest, not toward a destination but into the very essence of peace. When he awoke, the fire still glowed faintly, and his grandfather sat nearby, eyes closed in his own quiet meditation. Haru whispered to himself, "The bridge is within sleeping too. It carries me even when I close my eyes." Chapter 26 Lanterns in Winter. The village prepared for a small festival, though snow lay heavy on the roofs. Children carried paper lanterns painted with sparrows, rivers, and stars. Their light glowed warmly, flickering against the cold night air. Haru followed his grandfather to the river bank, where rows of lanterns were set afloat upon the icy current. They drifted slowly, glowing islands of gold moving into darkness. The snow reflected their light, turning the night into a world of shimmering patterns. Haru saw bridges in their glow, arches of light connecting one lantern to the next, carrying warmth into the distance. His grandfather whispered, "Lanterns are like prayers. They travel beyond what we can see, carrying pieces of us with them." Haru gazed after the drifting lights, wondering what part of him the snow and river would carry forward. Chapter 27 Voices Through Ice. The following morning, Haru wandered near the frozen pond. The ice was thick, yet cracks lined its surface, deep and winding like veins of glass. He knelt and pressed his ear close. At first, there was silence, but soon faint tones rose, echoes of water shifting below, of air caught within. The sounds grew clearer, like distant voices humming. They rose and fell, a language without words yet heavy with meaning. Haru's heart quickened. He whispered, "Are you calling me?" The hum vibrated through the ice, low and steady, like an answer. Haru closed his eyes, and in the rhythm, he felt the same presence he had known on snowy paths and in dreams, the bridge speaking, telling him it was near. Chapter 28 The Bridge Beyond Dreams. That night, Haru's dream returned more vivid than ever. He stood in a vast expanse where no snow fell, no stars shone. Only silence, endless and calm. Before him appeared a bridge, luminous and endless, stretching into a horizon of soft light. Unlike the bridges before, this one felt complete, solid and eternal. Haru stepped onto it. The sparrows appeared again, but they did not sing. Instead, they flew ahead, guiding him with their wings' quiet rhythm. Each step carried him deeper into peace. The bridge arched not over rivers or valleys, but over time itself, binding waking and dreaming, memory and silence. When he reached the midpoint, Haru stopped and looked back. He saw the village faintly, his grandfather watching with calm eyes. Ahead, only light waited, gentle and infinite. The bridge whispered without words, "There is no end. Only passage." Haru closed his eyes, letting the bridge carry him forward. Chapter 29 The Snow's Lullaby. The snow fell thick and slow, blanketing the village in silence. Haru lay beneath quilts, listening to its rhythm against the roof. It was not mere sound, it was a lullaby. The flakes seemed to fall in a pattern, a soft cadence that soothed his heart. Within the hush, he thought he heard faint humming, as though the snow itself was singing. The song carried no words, yet Haru understood. It spoke of stillness, of waiting, of gentle crossings. Each flake was a note, each drift a phrase, and together they built a melody that wrapped around him like warmth. Drifting towards sleep, Haru whispered, "The snow sings and the song builds the bridge." Chapter 30 The Grandfather's Tale. That evening, Haru sat by the fire with his grandfather. The flames danced upon the old man's face, revealing lines shaped by years of winters. The grandfather spoke slowly, his voice low and steady. In every generation, there are those who glimpse the hidden bridge. Some only see it once, in dreams or in stars. Others walk part of its path. Few go far, but all who see it are changed. Haru listened closely, his heart quickening. "Did you ever walk it, grandfather?" The old man smiled faintly. "I have seen its beginnings. I have heard it's called in rivers and forests. But the bridge was not mine to cross. It waits for another." Haru's eyes widened. "For me?" The grandfather placed a hand gently upon his shoulder. "The bridge chooses, Haru. Perhaps it has chosen you. Perhaps your steps have already begun." The fire crackled, and silence stretched between them, deeper than words. Chapter 31 The Shadow of the Final Bridge. That night, Haru dreamed again. The snowfield stretched endlessly, yet this time a shadow crossed it, a faint outline of a bridge darker than the night. It rose not in light, but in quiet shadow, shimmering with a weight that felt both heavy and calm. Haru hesitated at its edge. Unlike the other bridges, this one seemed to ask more of him. From the distance came the soft sound of sparrows, but their song was muted, as if carried through mist. Haru stepped forward, the shadowed bridge holding firm beneath him. It felt like walking on silence itself. Each step deepened the stillness, carrying him closer to something vast and unknown. At the midpoint, Haru stopped. The bridge stretched into darkness, and yet he felt no fear. Only a deep awareness that beyond this crossing lay the truth of all the other bridges, the final connection between waking, dreaming, and eternity. He whispered, "I am ready." And the bridge seemed to tremble in quiet acknowledgement. Chapter 32 The Winter's Farewell. The snow continued to fall, though the air carried the faintest promise of change. Haru walked with his grandfather through the village. Noticing the way rooftops sagged under their white burden, yet also how icicles dripped faintly in the sun. The season was not ending yet, but a farewell was near. The sparrows, once absent, had begun to appear again, flitting from branch to branch. Their voices were soft, hesitant, as though rehearsing for spring. Haru paused to watch them. He realized their song, even faint, was another kind of bridge, one that spanned the distance between silence and renewal. His grandfather looked at him kindly. "Winter does not leave us. It only rests, waiting for its turn again. But each farewell teaches us to listen more carefully. Haru nodded, carrying the words in silence. He knew that even in endings, the bridge endured. Chapter 33 The Prayer at Dawn. One morning, Haru rose before the sun. The sky was pale, and the snow reflected the faintest hints of gold. Together with his grandfather, he climbed the hill to the small shrine. The air was so still it seemed to hold its breath. Haru clasped his hands, bowing deeply. His prayer was simple, yet strong. Let me see the bridge clearly, and let me walk it without fear. The first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, spilling across the snow. In that light, Haru saw arcs gleam between the trees, across the river, and even in the air above the village. Everywhere he looked, bridges shone faintly, as though the world itself was woven of crossings. His grandfather bowed beside him, whispering, "The dawn carries prayers farther than night." Haru smiled, feeling the truth in the words. The bridge was closer than ever. Chapter 34 The Bridge of Light. That night, Haru dreamed once more, but this dream was different. The bridge appeared before him, not of shadow, snow, or stars, but of pure light. It stretched across an endless expanse, luminous and soft, brighter than any dawn yet gentle as moonlight. He stepped forward, and the bridge welcomed him. Each step dissolved into brightness, carrying him not away from himself, but deeper into the heart of all things. The sparrows flew ahead, their wings glimmering. Their song returned, fuller than ever, weaving with the radiance. Haru understood then the bridges had never been separate. Snow, river, star, shadow, dream, all were part of this single path of light. Halfway across, he turned. In the distance, he saw his grandfather standing calmly, hands folded in blessing. Haru felt no sadness, only gratitude. When he faced forward again, the bridge led into boundless light, endless and peaceful. He whispered, "I am home." And the bridge carried him on. Chapter 35 The village awaits spring. The days grew subtly longer. Though snow still blanketed the fields, a quiet shift lingered in the air. Icicles dripped steadily, and the sparrows' songs gained strength with each dawn. The villagers began small preparations for the coming season, mending tools, clearing paths, setting aside seeds for planting. Their breaths still clouded in the cold, but hope threaded each gesture. Haru walked among them, noticing how each face carried both weariness and anticipation. He felt as though he could see invisible bridges connecting them between winter's silence and the promise of renewal. One evening, as he watched the setting sun reflect against melting ice, He whispered to himself, spring will come, but winter will remain within me too. Chapter 36 The Grandfather's Smile. By the hearth, Haru sat with his grandfather once more. The fire flickered gently, shadows rising along the wooden walls. His grandfather studied him for a long moment, then smiled a smile deep with quiet pride. You have seen more than I ever could, Haru. The bridge has shown itself to you in ways beyond my knowing. Haru lowered his gaze. I don't know if I understand it fully. The old man chuckled softly. Understanding is not the bridge's purpose. Walking is enough. Listening is enough. Even glimpsing it is a gift. Haru met his grandfather's eyes and saw the warmth there, steady as the firelight. It was a smile that held both farewell and blessing. In that moment, Haru realized that his grandfather had always been a guide, leading him gently to the path, but never stepping upon it himself. The bridge was his to walk. Chapter 37 The Memory of the Bridge. The winter slowly loosened its hold. Snow thinned upon the roofs, and the first buds of plum trees hinted at their blossoms. Haru carried within him the memory of all the bridges, those of snow, of stars, of shadow, of light. He knew they would appear again, in dreams, in seasons, in silence. Sometimes, when he closed his eyes, he still heard the sparrow's song, guiding him gently. Other times, he felt the hush of snow upon his skin, or the hum of a frozen river beneath his hand. Each was a fragment, yet each was whole. One evening, as twilight settled, Haru stood by the river. The water flowed free again, carrying with it the last of winter's ice. In its reflection, he thought he glimpsed an arch of light, faint, fleeting, yet real. He whispered, "The bridge is never gone. It lives in me, and I in it." And with that, Haru smiled, the peace of winter lingering in his heart, even as spring approached. Chapter 38 The First Blossoms. The snow melted slowly, revealing patches of earth beneath. In the village, the first plum blossoms opened, pale petals trembling in the cool air, a quiet promise of the season ahead. Haru stood beneath the tree, gazing upward. Each blossom seemed like a snowflake transformed, delicate yet strong, carrying the memory of winter into spring. Sparrows darted among the branches, their songs no longer hesitant but full, bright, alive. Their voices wove together like threads of light, binding sky and earth in harmony. Haru whispered, "The bridge continues even here, even now." Chapter 39 The Final Farewell. One evening, Haru sat once more with his grandfather. The fire burned low, its embers glowing softly. The old man's eyes were gentle but distant, as though looking beyond the room, beyond the season. He placed his hand on Haru's and spoke quietly. "My journey has been long. Yours has only begun. Remember what you have seen, Haru. The bridge will guide you, even when I no longer can." Haru felt his throat tighten. "Grandfather, I don't want you to leave." The old man smiled, his voice steady as snow. "I will not leave. I will walk another bridge, one that leads where you cannot yet follow. But when you hear the sparrows, when you see the snow fall, know that I am near." That night, Haru dreamed of his grandfather stepping onto a radiant bridge of light, turning once to smile, then walking calmly into brightness. Chapter 40: The Eternal Bridge. The seasons turned. Snow gave way to blossoms, blossoms to green, yet within Haru's heart winter remained a quiet presence, a guiding song. One twilight, as he walked by the river, the water reflected the setting sun. For a fleeting moment, the reflection bent into an arch, a bridge of light stretching across the current. Haru closed his eyes. He heard sparrows singing, clear and bright, and felt the hush of snow, the warmth of fire, the voice of his grandfather. All were one, woven together in silence and song. He whispered, "The bridge is eternal. It carries us across seasons, across dreams, across life itself." And as the last light of day faded into night, Haru felt the bridge within him steady, luminous, endless, leading him onward, not toward an end, but toward the infinite peace that lies within every step. Lantern light in the bamboo grove. Prologue: The first lantern. The bamboo grove stretched like an ocean of green shadows beneath the night sky. Each slender stalk swayed with the faintest breath of wind, brushing softly against its neighbor, whispering as if carrying secrets from one to the next. The moon, half veiled by drifting clouds, spilled a gentle silver light over the forest, only to have it swallowed quickly by the dense canopy of leaves. At the grove's entrance stood a single lantern. Its frame was carved of dark wood, its paper walls glowing with a flame that flickered like a heartbeat. The lantern did not banish the darkness, instead, it softened it, warming the air around it as though reminding travelers that even the night could be kind. Ren, a boy of 12, paused before it. His breath steamed in the cool air as he watched the light quiver. The village behind him lay hushed, its thatched rooftops silvered with moonlight, but ahead stretched the uncertain depths of the bamboo grove. His grandfather's words returned to him: "The lanterns are not only for light. They are prayers, left to guide the living and the dreaming alike. Walk gently, and you may see what lies beyond sight." Ren bowed lightly to the lantern, just as he had been taught, then stepped forward onto the stone path. His sandals clicked faintly against the smooth stones, each sound swallowed quickly by the forest's embrace. The deeper he walked, the more the air seemed to thicken with silence, not empty silence, but a listening one, filled with the low hum of crickets, the occasional rustle of wings high in the bamboo, and the faraway trickle of unseen water. Before long, a second lantern appeared, then a third. Each one burned softly, their flames swaying as if in quiet greeting. Together they formed a rhythm along the path, a pulse that matched the beating of Ren's heart. And then, faint but unmistakable, a bell rang somewhere deep in the grove. Its sound was low and resonant, stretching across the night like ripples across still water. Ren froze, listening. The bell tolled again, gentler this time, almost as if inviting him forward. The boy took another step, and the lanterns ahead brightened, guiding him deeper into the bamboo where dream and waking life began to blur. Chapter 1: Whispers in the Bamboo. The path wound gently, curving through the grove as though following the breath of the wind itself. Lanterns appeared at steady intervals, their golden circles of light overlapping, leaving little pools of darkness between them. Ren slowed his pace. He felt as though he were no longer walking through the forest but through a story, one that had been written long before he arrived. One that waited for his footsteps to turn its pages. The bamboo whispered all around him. At first, it was only the sigh of leaves, but as he listened more closely, he thought he heard voices within its soft, overlapping murmurs, rising and falling like distant waves. They spoke no words he could recognize, yet the sound was strangely comforting, as though the grove were acknowledging him. Ren placed his hand on one of the bamboo stalks. Its surface was cool, smooth, alive beneath his touch. The whispering grew clearer, and he could almost make out a melody, like the beginning of a lullaby carried on the night air. He stepped onward, and soon the path brought him to a clearing. In its center stood a stone basin filled with water. A lantern had been set beside it, its flame dancing so brightly that it seemed to touch the surface of the basin. The water reflected the light in ripples of gold, bending the flame into shapes that swayed and stretched like living things. Ren knelt and peered into the basin. His own face stared back at him, haloed by lantern glow, but as he watched, the reflection shifted. He saw the faint outline of a bridge, a delicate arch of light rising above water, leading somewhere beyond sight. He blinked, and the image was gone. Only his reflection remained. The bell rang again, its sound threading through the clearing. Ren lifted his head. Beyond the far side of the basin, the path continued, narrower now, hemmed in by thicker bamboo. The lanterns were fewer, their flames dimmer, but still steady. The boy rose to his feet, feeling a mix of hesitation and wonder. Somewhere beyond the whispering bamboo, beyond the flickering lanterns, something awaited him. Ren bowed once more to the basin, as if to honor the vision he had glimpsed, then stepped forward into the deeper grove, where the night held its secrets like treasures waiting to be found. Chapter 2: The Silent Garden. The path narrowed, then opened unexpectedly into a garden hidden deep within the grove. It was not grand, nor carefully arranged like the temple gardens Ren had seen in his village. This one seemed older, wilder, shaped less by human hands and more by the slow touch of time. Stone lanterns stood at the corners of moss-covered stones, their flames steady, as though they had been waiting countless seasons for someone to arrive. Between them grew camellia bushes, their blossoms pale and luminous in the moonlight. Red petals lay scattered upon the moss like brushstrokes of an unseen painter. Ren padded, as though afraid to disturb the stillness. The air carried the faint fragrance of camellia, sweet and earthy, mingling with the cool, damp scent of bamboo. A breeze stirred, and with it came the sound of bamboo chimes, though he saw no chimes anywhere. The sound seemed to rise from the grove itself, a gentle ringing like distant laughter. At the center of the garden stood a weathered stone bench. Ren sat upon it and let the silence surround him. The lantern flames flickered, and shadows swayed across the moss. He closed his eyes for a moment, and the stillness deepened into something more like the quiet pause before the first note of a song. Then he heard it, a voice, soft as a whisper, carried on the breeze. "Walk further, child of lantern light. The grove remembers you." Ren opened his eyes, startled, but the garden remained empty. Only the lantern flames trembled, as if they had spoken. For a long while, he stayed seated, listening. The voice did not return, yet its echo lingered in his heart, gentle and reassuring. At last he rose, bowed to the garden as though it were a host who had shared its secret, and continued along the path that wound toward the sound of water. Chapter 3: The Bridge of Lanterns. The path sloped downward, and the faint murmur of water grew clearer. Soon Ren emerged from the dense bamboo to find a stream flowing through the forest. Its surface shimmered with moonlight, broken only by the ripples of the current. A wooden bridge arched gracefully across the stream. Lanterns lined its railings, their flames mirrored in the water below, so that it seemed a path of light stretched both above and beneath the flowing current. Ren stood at the foot of the bridge, mesmerized. The lanterns swayed gently in the night breeze, their glow mingling with the silver of the moon. For a moment, he thought he saw shapes moving within the reflections, shadows of travelers long gone, crossing in silence. He placed his hand upon the bridge's railing. The wood was smooth and cool, worn by the touch of many hands. He felt a quiet pulse beneath it, as though the bridge itself was alive, carrying not only footsteps but memories. The bell rang again, distant yet clear, as though it came from the far side of the stream. Ren took a slow step onto the bridge. The lanterns brightened, their flames steady and calm, guiding him across. Each step seemed to lengthen, not in distance but in time, stretching into a dreamlike rhythm. Halfway across, he paused and looked down. The reflection of the lanterns in the water bent into arches of golden light, forming a bridge beneath the bridge, endless and shimmering. It was as though the world above and the world below were connected by the same path, bound by the same flame. Ren whispered, as if to the water, "Guide me." And with that, he continued across until his feet touched the far side of the bank, where the bamboo rose thicker, darker, waiting to receive him. Chapter 4: The Song Beneath the Bamboo. The far bank of the stream was quieter still. The bamboo here grew taller, their stalks so close together that only thin ribbons of moonlight reached the path. Lanterns continued to appear at intervals, their flames glowing like watchful eyes, steady and unblinking. Ren walked slowly, his footsteps muffled by fallen leaves. He felt the air cool against his skin, and every breath carried the scent of earth and moss. The silence was not empty, it was rich, layered, as though countless voices lay hidden within it. Then he heard it, a song. At first, it was faint, barely more than a hum, rising and falling like the breeze. But as he listened, it grew clearer, shaping itself into a melody that was both sorrowful and sweet. The sound did not come from any one place, it drifted through the grove, as if the bamboo themselves were singing. Ren stopped and closed his eyes. The melody surrounded him, weaving gently around his heart. It reminded him of lullabies his mother had sung when he was younger, the kind that carried him into dreams before he could resist. A lantern near him flickered brighter, and the song seemed to gather there. For a moment, Ren thought he saw a figure, a shadow within the light. It bowed slightly, then dissolved into the glow. Ren whispered, "Who are you?" The bamboo swayed in answer, and the song faded into silence. When Ren opened his eyes, the path ahead seemed changed. The darkness no longer pressed upon him, it cradled him, like the soft folds of a blanket. He bowed once toward the place where the lantern had shone brightest, then continued forward, his steps guided by a music that lingered only in memory. Chapter 5: The Lanterns of the Mountain Temple. The path rose steadily, carrying Ren higher into the grove. The climb was gentle, but with each step, he felt as though he were moving further away from the village, further into a place where time itself slowed. At last, the bamboo parted, and Ren found himself standing before stone steps leading upward. At the top, half hidden by trees, stood a small mountain temple. Its wooden roof gleamed faintly with dew, and its eaves curved like wings ready to take flight. Lanterns lined the steps. They were older than those in the grove, their wood darkened by years, their paper faded, yet their flames burned with a steady glow. The light guided his gaze upward, as though inviting him to ascend. Ren placed his foot upon the first step. The sound of the bell rang again, clearer now, nearer. Each toll seemed to come from the temple itself, though no one was there to ring it. Step by step, he climbed, his breath slow and measured. The lanterns flared softly as he passed, their light brushing against him like gentle hands. When he reached the top, Ren paused before the temple gate. It stood open, its wood dark but polished smooth with age. Beyond it lay a courtyard where more lanterns glowed, surrounding a tall stone figure of Jizo, the guardian of travelers. Ren bowed deeply. The lanterns flickered in unison, their flames bowing back. In the silence that followed, Ren felt a presence kind, watchful, timeless. He knew then that he was not walking alone. The boy stepped into the courtyard, the bell tolling once more, and the night around him deepened into a dream. Chapter 6: The Memories in the Lanterns. Inside the courtyard of the mountain temple, Ren wandered slowly, his footsteps soft against the worn stones. Lanterns stood in a circle around the guardian statue, their light steady and calm. Each flame seemed to hold something more than fire, something that pulsed gently, like the rhythm of a memory. Ren approached one lantern and crouched beside it. Its paper walls were thin with age, patched in places, yet its glow was unwavering. He leaned closer, and for a moment, the flame shimmered and shifted. Within its glow, he saw an image, a woman bowing before the statue, her hands pressed together in prayer. Her face was calm, her eyes closed in devotion. Ren gasped softly. When he blinked, the vision dissolved, leaving only the flame. He turned to another lantern. This one showed the shadow of a young traveler, carrying a bundle on his back, pausing to rest beneath the temple gate. Another lantern revealed a child laughing, chasing fireflies around the courtyard. Each flame was a vessel, carrying fragments of lives that had once passed through this place. Ren felt his heart grow warm. The lanterns were not merely lights, they were guardians of memory, holding safe the wishes and prayers of those who came before. He bowed to them all, whispering, "Thank you for remembering." As he rose, the flames flickered in gentle unison, as if acknowledging his words. The bell rang once more, low and deep, and the night seemed to expand outward, carrying those memories into the bamboo beyond. Ren turned toward the open path that wound higher into the hills. The lanterns at the temple's edge glowed brighter, beckoning him onward. Chapter 7 Moonlight in the Bamboo. The path narrowed again, leading Ren back into the embrace of the bamboo grove. This part of the forest felt different, more spacious, as though the bamboo had stepped aside to make room for the sky. The moon had risen high above the canopy. Where the stalks parted, its silver light poured down, painting the grove in soft radiance. The bamboo shimmered, its leaves trembling like countless tiny mirrors reflecting the night. Ren paused beneath the moonlight. He felt as though he had stepped into a dream within a dream. The lanterns here were fewer, their glow mingling with the moon's silver until it was hard to tell where one ended and the other began. He sat upon a smooth stone and tilted his face upward. The light wrapped around him, cool and gentle, like water flowing over his skin. He closed his eyes, and the sounds of the grove deepened: the rustle of leaves, the distant call of an owl, the quiet hum of unseen streams. Then, softly, the whispers returned. The bamboo swayed, and their voices overlapped like the strings of an unseen instrument. Within the murmur, Ren thought he heard words: "Do not hurry. Rest, and the path will find you." Ren breathed slowly, letting the words settle in his heart. The weight of time seemed to dissolve. He felt neither awake nor asleep, but balanced in a space between. When he opened his eyes again, the moonlight seemed to ripple, and for a heartbeat he saw the outlines of another path, a shining bridge stretching from one cluster of bamboo to another, made not of wood, but of light itself. It lingered only a moment, then vanished into the night. Ren smiled faintly. He did not feel disappointed. The vision was enough to remind him the grove was alive, guiding him gently, step by step. He rose from the stone, bowed once to the moonlit bamboo, and continued along the path, lanterns and moonlight weaving together to guide him deeper into the dream. Chapter 8 The River Beneath the Grove. The path wound downward, and the sound of running water returned, soft at first, like a whisper, then stronger, until it filled the night with its rhythm. Ren emerged into a hollow where a river slipped quietly through the bamboo. Its waters were dark yet glimmered with silver as moonlight and lantern glow touched its rippling surface. A narrow wooden dock stretched a short way into the river. Lanterns floated nearby, their flames protected by thin paper shells. They drifted gently with the current, bobbing like stars fallen from the sky. Ren knelt at the edge, dipping his hand into the cool water. The current brushed against his skin like silk. As he watched, one lantern drifted closer, circling near him as though curious. Its flame shimmered brightly, then bent into shapes that seemed to form an image: bamboo, moonlight, a face he could not quite recognize. Ren leaned closer, and for a moment, he thought the river was not simply reflecting the world above, but holding within it another world entirely. The drifting lanterns became constellations, and the current carried them like time itself, flowing towards some unseen ocean. The bell rang once, echoing over the water. The sound rippled outward, and the flames of the floating lanterns swayed in response. Ren whispered, "Carry the prayers safely." He bowed to the river, and when he rose again, the path on the far side gleamed faintly, lit by lanterns that seemed to beckon him across. A stone bridge arched gracefully over the current, its shadow doubling in the water like a dream mirrored in another dream. With steady steps, Ren crossed, his heart calm, his breath slow, as if each step were already part of a lullaby. Chapter 9: The Pool of Reflections. Beyond the river, the path grew narrow once more, winding upward until Ren reached a small clearing. At its center lay a round pool, perfectly still, as though carved from glass. Lanterns ringed its edges, their flames mirrored so clearly in the water that the pool seemed to hold a second circle of fire beneath its surface. Ren knelt and gazed into the pool. At first, he saw only his reflection, framed by bamboo and lantern light. But then the water shimmered, and his reflection shifted. He saw images layered over one another: a younger version of himself chasing sparrows across a summer field. His mother's hands folding paper lanterns during a festival, his grandfather bowing before the temple gate. Each vision drifted gently like a petal upon the pool's surface, then dissolved. Ren's breath slowed. The visions were not frightening. They were tender, reminders that memory and dream were woven together like strands of bamboo bending in the wind. The lanterns flickered, and the pool brightened. For a heartbeat, Ren saw another image: a bridge of light stretching across the pool itself, its reflection reaching down into depths he could not see. He leaned closer, almost tempted to touch the surface. But the pool remained still, and the bridge faded as quietly as it had appeared. Ren whispered, "Thank you," though he did not know to whom. Perhaps to the water, perhaps to the lanterns, perhaps to the grove itself. When he rose, the lanterns around the pool swayed softly, as though bowing in response. The path beyond glowed faintly, waiting. Ren stepped forward, carrying the memory of the pool's reflections in his heart, like a dream he would remember even upon waking. Chapter 10: The Path of Morning Mist. As Ren left the pool of reflections, the air grew cooler. A soft mist began to gather among the bamboo, curling gently around his legs as he walked. It thickened as he climbed higher, until the lanterns ahead appeared as glowing orbs suspended in a sea of white. The path felt endless, each step blending into the next. The mist hushed every sound, the rustle of leaves, the distant cry of an owl, even the whisper of Ren's own breath. It was as though the world itself was holding its silence, waiting. Ren paused and closed his eyes. The silence was not empty, it was comforting, like a blanket draped over his shoulders. Within it, he thought he heard faint tones, low and resonant, like the hum of a great bell echoing through the mist. He bowed his head slightly and continued forward. The lanterns lit the way one by one, their flames small yet unwavering. Each glow seemed to create a tiny pocket of warmth, keeping the mist at bay. Ren realized that the mist was not here to hide the path but to soften it, to let him walk without hurry. Every step was cushioned, every breath slowed, until his body moved in rhythm with the gentle stillness. When he reached a bend, the mist parted just enough to reveal a stone marker carved with faint characters. Ren brushed his hand across it, though the words had faded too much to read. He understood, however, that others had passed here long ago. The mist had guarded their steps, just as it guarded his now. He bowed once to the stone, then walked on, lantern light and mist weaving around him like a dream that carried no weight, only rest. Chapter 11: The Slumber of the Lanterns. The mist grew thinner as the path leveled. Soon, Ren reached a small clearing where the lanterns stood in a circle, far older than those he had seen before. Their wooden frames were dark with age, their paper patched and worn. Yet none of them were unlit. Each flame burned softly, not with the sharp brightness of fire, but with the steady glow of embers long tended. Ren stepped carefully among them. The circle felt sacred, as though the lanterns themselves were resting. Their flames rose and fell slowly, like the breathing of someone in deep sleep. He crouched beside one, watching its glow. For a moment, he thought he heard a sound, not a voice, but a sigh, peaceful and content. It was then that he realized that the lanterns were not only carriers of memory but beings of rest. They, too, were dreaming, their flames the light of slumber carried across ages. Ren closed his eyes and allowed himself to breathe with them. In slow and deep. Out, soft and calm. His body loosened, and for a while, he felt he might lie down there, among the lanterns, and fall into the same endless sleep they held. But as he lingered, one lantern flickered brighter, then dimmed, as if gently urging him onward. Ren bowed deeply to the circle, whispering, "Rest well. I will carry your light forward." The flames swayed in unison, their glow rippling like a nod of agreement. Ren rose, his heart lighter, his steps unhurried. Beyond the clearing, the path glimmered faintly once more, waiting to lead him further into the grove's quiet embrace. Chapter 12: The Breath of the Bamboo. The path wound gently upward, and the mist gradually thinned until Ren once again stood among tall, swaying stalks of bamboo. The grove here was open and airy, the night sky visible in soft fragments between the leaves. The wind began to stir. It moved quietly at first, brushing against Ren's cheek like a whisper. Then it rose, filling the grove with a long, sighing voice. The bamboo swayed together, their stalks knocking softly against one another, creating a rhythm like chimes. Ren stopped and closed his eyes. The wind did not rush him forward, it slowed him, encouraged him to listen. Each breath he drew was matched by the bamboo's sway, as if the entire forest was breathing with him. For a moment, he felt lifted, his worries, his questions, all loosened and carried away with the wind. The sound was not harsh or restless, it was gentle, steady, the sound of a lullaby whispered by the earth itself. A lantern flickered to his left, and the wind curled around it but did not extinguish the flame. Instead, the flame danced gracefully, moving with the wind's rhythm. Ren bowed slightly to it, whispering, "Thank you for guiding me." The bamboo answered with another long sigh, and the grove glowed faintly with lantern light, as if smiling. Ren walked on, his steps in harmony with the breath of the bamboo, his heart as light as drifting leaves. Chapter 13: The Stone Steps. Soon, the forest floor grew uneven, and Ren came upon the base of a staircase carved into the hillside. The stone steps were worn smooth with age, their edges softened by centuries of rain and moss. Lanterns lined the ascent, their flames steady, climbing upward like stars guiding the way to the heavens. Ren placed his foot on the first step. The air shifted, carrying with it a faint resonance, the distant toll of the unseen bell. Each time his foot met the stone, the sound echoed faintly in his chest, as though the steps themselves remembered the bell's voice. The climb was not hurried. Ren took each step slowly, breathing with care. His gaze lifted only enough to see the next lantern waiting above. The rhythm of climbing lulled him, like the steady rocking of a cradle. Halfway up, Ren paused. He turned, and through the bamboo below, he could see the faint glow of lanterns tracing the path he had traveled. They shimmered in the night like a constellation drawn across the earth. He smiled faintly, then turned back to the ascent. At the top, he reached a landing where a single great lantern stood. Its frame was carved with patterns of waves and clouds, its paper fresh and strong despite its age. The flame within burned brighter than any he had yet seen, casting a golden glow that reached into the dark sky. Ren bowed deeply before it, sensing that this lantern marked a threshold. Beyond it, the path would lead him deeper still, perhaps to the very heart of the bamboo grove's secret. The bell tolled again, low and resonant, and Ren felt its sound settle into his bones. He stepped past the great lantern, carrying its light within him as he moved quietly onward. Chapter 14: The Garden of Prayers. Beyond the great lantern, the path opened into a wide terrace where mossy stones formed a small garden. The space was enclosed by bamboo, yet the sky revealed itself in a round, clear window above. Stars glimmered faintly, their light falling like soft dust upon the ground. Lanterns stood at each corner of the terrace. Their flames were steady, almost solemn, and the air between them seemed charged with quiet reverence. In the garden's center, a flat stone served as an altar, smooth from the touch of countless hands over the years. Ren approached slowly. His steps grew lighter, as though the garden itself wished him to tread gently. When he reached the altar stone, he bowed deeply. The silence here was deeper than in the misted path or the river bank. It was not empty, it was full of presence, as if the whispers of every prayer once spoken here still lingered, woven together in the still night air. Ren pressed his palms together. Though he had no clear words to offer, his heart filled with gratitude for the lanterns that guided him, for the bamboo that sheltered him, for the voices that had carried him gently along. When he raised his head again, the lanterns flickered softly, one after another, as if bowing in return. A faint breeze moved through the bamboo, carrying the quiet echo of unseen voices murmuring in harmony. Ren smiled. He felt lighter, as though the prayers of the garden had wrapped around him like a cloak. The path beyond glowed faintly once more, waiting. Chapter 15 The Bell of Slumber. Past the garden, the path narrowed again, leading to a small wooden pavilion nestled among the bamboo. At its center hung a bell larger than Wren had expected, its bronze surface etched with flowing patterns of waves and clouds. The lanterns around it burned low, their flames dim yet unextinguished, as if resting. Wren stepped closer, his eyes drawn to the bell. It did not move, yet a faint hum resonated in the air around it, a sound so deep it seemed to vibrate through his chest. He bowed before the bell and stood in silence. The hum grew stronger, and he realized it was not sound alone but rhythm, like the slow heartbeat of the night. As he lingered, the bell tolled softly, almost inaudibly, yet enough to fill the pavilion with gentle waves of resonance. The sound did not disturb the silence, it deepened it, weaving stillness into music. Wren closed his eyes. His breath slowed, his body relaxed, and for a moment he felt as though he were floating suspended between waking and dreaming. The bell seemed to cradle him, each tone carrying him further into calm. When the toll faded, the lanterns around the pavilion brightened slightly, as if to assure him that the path was not yet over. Wren bowed again to the bell, whispering, "Thank you for letting me rest." He stepped back into the lantern-lit path, the gentle hum of the bell still lingering within him like the memory of a lullaby. Chapter 16 Starlight Among the Bamboo. The path wound upward again, and as Wren walked, the bamboo began to thin. The sky revealed itself more clearly, dark and vast, sprinkled with stars. The lanterns along the path glowed softly, but their light no longer seemed alone. The stars themselves had joined in, shining down like distant companions. Wren paused at a clearing where the bamboo bent away, leaving an open view of the heavens. The air was cool, crisp, carrying the faint scent of pine. Above him, countless stars shimmered, their reflections caught on the glossy leaves, as though the sky had scattered jewels among the grove. He sat upon a smooth stone and gazed upward. The stars seemed close enough to touch, their gentle twinkle moving in rhythm with his breath. Slowly, his body loosened, and his thoughts quieted. As he watched, one star appeared to fall, leaving a silver trail across the night. Wren followed it with his eyes until it vanished beyond the ridge. For a moment, the lanterns flickered brighter, as though answering the falling light. Wren whispered, "Even the stars walked their path." The bamboo swayed gently, their movements catching the starlight, creating shimmering patterns like ripples on water. Wren felt that he, too, was part of this rhythm, one lantern, one star, one breath, woven together in the night's quiet fabric. When he rose, the path beyond gleamed faintly, the lanterns guiding him once more beneath the watchful gaze of the stars. Chapter 17 The Foxfire Guardians. Further along, the grove grew darker, its lanterns spaced farther apart. The shadows deepened, and Ren felt the hush of mystery settle around him. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he caught a glow small, flickering, but not from a lantern. It darted through the bamboo like a flame carried by invisible hands. Another appeared, then another, until half a dozen small lights danced around him. They were foxfire, soft blue flames that glided gracefully, weaving between stalks as though alive. Ren stopped, unsure, but the foxfire did not frighten him. Their glow was gentle, almost playful. One drifted close, hovering near his shoulder, before circling ahead on the path. The lanterns flickered in answer, their golden light mingling with the blue of the foxfire. Together they painted the grove in colors that shimmered like a dream, half warmth, half mystery. Ren followed, and the foxfire led him without hurry, always staying just ahead, as if showing him the way. Their movement reminded him of sparrows he once chased as a child, quick, darting, always just out of reach, yet never gone. When the path opened into another small clearing, the foxfire gathered in a circle. They swayed together, their flames rising and falling like a dance. Then, one by one, they faded, leaving only the lanterns glowing softly in the clearing. Ren bowed deeply. "Thank you for guiding me." The lanterns shimmered brighter for a moment, as though sharing the foxfire's farewell. Ren's heart felt calm, protected, as he stepped onward, carrying the memory of those gentle flames. Chapter 18 The Lullaby of the Stream. The lantern-lit path descended gently until Ren heard the murmur of water once again. Soon he reached a brook, narrow and shallow, slipping quietly over smooth stones. Its voice was soft and musical, a lullaby woven from countless ripples. Lanterns stood along the banks, their glow reflected in the current. The water carried their light downstream, breaking it into fragments that shimmered like scattered fireflies. Ren knelt and dipped his hand into the brook. The water was cool, and the current curled softly around his fingers. He listened closely, and within the flowing sound he thought he heard words not sharp or clear, but tender, like humming. The brook was singing. He closed his eyes and breathed slowly. The song wrapped around him, carrying away the weight of thought. For a moment, time seemed to dissolve, only the sound of water and the glow of lanterns remained. When he opened his eyes again, he noticed small paper boats floating on the stream. Each held a tiny flame, steady despite the current. They drifted past him, one after another, their reflections shimmering in endless ripples. Ren whispered, "Carry the dreams safely." He bowed to the brook, then followed the lanterns upstream, where the sound of water softened until it faded into silence. Chapter 19: The Bridge of Slumber. The path brought Ren to a wooden bridge that arched gently over another stream. This one was wider, its surface smooth and calm, reflecting the stars and lanterns so clearly that Ren could not tell where the water ended and the sky began. The bridge itself was simple, its wood worn smooth with age. Lanterns lined its railings, their flames glowing softly, forming a ribbon of light across the dark water. Ren stepped onto the bridge. At once, the air grew still, and the only sound was the soft creak of wood beneath his feet. Each step felt slower than the last, as though the bridge wished him to linger. Halfway across, Ren paused. The water below mirrored him perfectly, yet the reflection did not move with him. It stood still, gazing back with calm eyes. The lanterns in the water seemed brighter than those above, as though the reflection belonged to another world. The bell tolled faintly in the distance, its sound carrying across the water. The reflection shimmered, then dissolved into ripples. Ren bowed to the river, then continued across. By the time he reached the far side, his body felt lighter. As though the bridge had carried away the weight of his waking self, leaving only the calm of slumber. The lanterns at the far end flickered, guiding him onward into deeper stillness. Chapter 20: The Phantom in the Grove. The path curved gently, leading Ren into a part of the grove where the bamboo grew taller than ever before. Their stalks rose like pillars, vanishing into the night sky. Lanterns glowed faintly between them, but their light seemed distant, veiled by shadows. As Ren walked, he sensed something new, a presence that drifted alongside him, neither seen nor heard, but felt. The air grew cool, and the bamboo leaves rustled without wind. Then, just ahead, the lanterns flickered, and a figure appeared. It was faint, made of light and shadow, as if born from the glow of the lanterns themselves. The figure did not move closer, it simply stood, bowing its head slightly. Ren froze, his breath caught. Yet the figure carried no threat. Its outline shimmered gently, like a reflection on water. For a moment, Ren thought he recognized it, an echo of someone he once knew, or perhaps the shape of a memory too old to name. He bowed deeply in return. The figure lifted its head, and the lanterns brightened. Slowly, the phantom dissolved, its light scattering into the bamboo until only darkness and silence remained. Ren exhaled. His heart was calm. Whatever the figure had been, it had not come to frighten him. It had been a guide, a reminder that he was not alone on this path. He whispered into the night, "Thank you," and the bamboo swayed gently in response. Chapter 21: The Keeper of Lanterns. Not long after, Ren reached a clearing unlike any he had seen. Lanterns filled the space, hundreds of them, arranged in neat rows, their flames glowing softly in the night. The air was warm with their light, and the grove shimmered like a sea of golden stars. At the center stood a small wooden hut. Its door slid open quietly, and from within stepped an old man. His robe was simple, his hair silver, his eyes calm. In his hands, he carried a lantern brighter than all the rest. Ren bowed immediately, sensing respect was due. The old man smiled faintly and returned the gesture. He placed the bright lantern on a low stand, where it joined the circle of light. The man spoke no words, yet Ren felt his presence as clearly as if a voice had touched his thoughts. The keeper did not guard the lanterns with force but with care, tending to them as one would tend a garden of flowers. Each flame was precious, each memory sacred. Ren understood without asking this was the heart of the grove's guidance. The lanterns were not only light, they were promises, wishes, and prayers carried across generations. The old man turned toward Ren and gave a small nod, as if to say, "You may go on. The light will follow you." Ren bowed deeply once more, then stepped beyond the clearing. As he did, the lanterns behind him swayed in gentle unison, their glow forming a golden wave that seemed to accompany him into the deeper night. Chapter 22: The Lullaby of the Grove. Beyond the keeper's clearing, the path narrowed once more. Lanterns stood farther apart, their glow softened by the thick curtain of bamboo leaves. The air was hushed, as though even the insects and owls had fallen silent. Then, faintly, Ren heard it, a song. It was not the same melody he had heard earlier in the grove. This one was gentler, slower, woven from tones so soft they seemed to rise from the earth itself. The sound drifted between the bamboo, echoing like a lullaby sung to the trees. Ren paused, letting the song wash over him. His breath slowed, his heart loosened. The melody was wordless, yet it spoke of comfort, of rest after a long journey. He walked on, and the song followed. Sometimes it was ahead, sometimes behind, sometimes beside him. He realized it was not sung by any one voice, but by the grove itself, the bamboo, the lanterns, even the night air joining together to cradle him. At a bend in the path, a lantern glowed brighter. For an instant, the flame shimmered into the shape of a mother cradling a child. The vision lingered only a moment before returning to light, but the tenderness remained. Ren bowed deeply, whispering, "Thank you for singing me onward." The lullaby continued, softer now, carrying him gently deeper into the grove's embrace. Chapter 23: The Birds of Dreams. The path opened into a clearing where a single tree stood among the bamboo, a great pine, its branches reaching high into the starlit sky. Lanterns hung from its boughs like glowing fruit, their flames swaying gently in the night breeze. Ren looked up in wonder. Then he noticed movement among the branches. Small birds, their feathers shimmering faintly, fluttered between the lanterns. They were not ordinary birds, their wings glowed with soft silver, as though woven from moonlight. One bird alighted on a branch just above Ren. It tilted its head, watching him with calm, bright eyes. Then it spread its wings, and in a slow, graceful motion, it lifted into the air. The other birds followed, rising together in a flock. As they flew, they carried with them the glow of the lanterns. Trails of silver light followed their wings, painting the air with arcs that shimmered like dreams taking flight. Ren watched, entranced. The birds circled above the clearing once, twice, then drifted higher, merging with the stars. The lanterns on the branches dimmed slightly, as though part of their light had been given away. Ren bowed deeply to the tree and whispered, "May the dreams you carry find safe rest." When he lifted his head again, the lanterns flickered once more, steady and calm, and the path beyond gleamed faintly in the night. Ren stepped forward, carrying the vision of silver wings in his heart, as if his own dreams had been lifted skyward along with them. Chapter 24: The Festival of Lanterns. Ren followed the path until it widened into a great clearing, larger than any he had yet seen. There, lanterns filled the space, hundreds, perhaps thousands, suspended from bamboo. Poles, arranged in circles, and floating gently in the air as if carried by invisible threads. The clearing shimmered like a festival frozen in time. Lanterns swayed in silence, their flames glowing with hues of gold, amber, and faint blue. They did not blaze brightly, instead, their light was soft, patient, and timeless. Ren stepped forward slowly, his eyes wide. He felt as though he had entered a dream within a dream. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. Then, faintly, he heard the sound of drums, not loud, but distant and muffled, like echoes of a festival long gone. The lanterns swayed in rhythm with the sound. Their flames rose and fell like dancers bowing in unison. Ren stood still, entranced by the motion, his heartbeat slowing to match their gentle rhythm. One lantern drifted toward him, floating as lightly as a falling leaf. Its flame pulsed softly, and Ren thought he saw within it the faces of people celebrating, their laughter hidden but warm. He bowed to it, and the lantern circled once before returning to the others. Ren realized then that the grove was not only a place of silence but also of joy carried quietly, preserved gently, like a song remembered in a dream. The lanterns glowed brighter for a moment, as though acknowledging his presence, then settled again into stillness. Ren walked on, the invisible festival carrying him onward like the tide of memory. Chapter 25 The Lake of Stillness. Beyond the festival clearing, the ground dipped gently downward. Soon Ren came upon a lake, round and vast, its surface perfectly still. Lanterns lined its shore, their flames reflected so clearly that the water appeared like a mirror holding another sky. The air here was cool and hushed. No wind stirred, no insect called. The silence was so complete that Ren felt his own breath become part of the lake's calm. He stepped to the edge and gazed across the water. Stars glittered above, lanterns glowed at the shore, and both were mirrored in the surface until he could not tell which was real and which was a reflection. It seemed as if two worlds, one above, one below, were touching at the water's skin. Ren knelt and looked into the lake. His reflection stared back, but like the bridge's mirrored self, it seemed more than a simple echo. The eyes of the reflection were steady, calm, as if carrying a wisdom beyond his own. For a long moment, Ren and his reflection gazed at one another in silence. Then a lantern drifted across the water, though there was no boat, no hand to carry it. It glided smoothly until it reached the center of the lake, where it shone like a star fallen into the heart of stillness. Ren bowed low to the lake. "Thank you for holding the quiet." When he rose, the lanterns along the shore flickered gently, their glow forming a pathway that traced the water's edge. Ren followed, his footsteps slow, his body swaying with the rhythm of the still night. The lake remained behind him, but its calm stayed within his heart, deep and unmoving, like a pool of dreams. Chapter 26 The Corridor of Mist. Leaving the lake behind, Ren followed the lantern-lit path into a place where the air grew cool and white. A soft mist had descended, curling around the bamboo stalks and drifting across the ground like veils of silk. The lanterns glowed faintly within the haze, their flames softened into halos. Each step Ren took seemed slower, as though time itself had thickened in the mist. The silence was deep, but it was not empty. It felt as if the air itself was listening. The path became a corridor, tall walls of bamboo on either side, lanterns overhead forming an arch of light. The mist filled this passage, transforming it into a tunnel between worlds. As Ren walked, he saw shapes in the fog, gentle silhouettes of people bowing, children laughing, travelers resting. None were sharp, none were frightening, they were memories, wandering softly within the mist. When Ren blinked, they faded, leaving only silence. He placed his palms together and bowed, honoring the unseen company. The mist seemed to respond, curling gently around him, cool but kind. Step by step, the corridor stretched on, endless and quiet. Yet Ren felt no fear. The lanterns above glowed steadily, guiding him forward like stars seen through clouds. The mist was not a barrier, it was a blanket, wrapping the path in rest. At last, the haze began to thin. Lanterns ahead shone more clearly, their flames steady and warm, promising a passage to the next dream. Chapter 27: The Bridge of Bound Dreams. When Ren emerged from the mist, he found himself standing before another bridge. This one was unlike the simple wooden arches he had crossed before. It was long and graceful, built from smooth stone, its railings carved with flowing patterns of waves and clouds. Lanterns lined the bridge, their flames joined by threads of silver string that stretched from one lantern to the next, weaving a net of light across the span. It looked as though the lanterns themselves were bound together, each flame supporting the others. Ren stepped onto the bridge. At once, the air grew hushed. Beneath him flowed not water but a deep, shadowed current that seemed to shimmer with faint glimmers, like dreams drifting through a river of night. As he walked, he noticed the silver threads tremble slightly, as if plucked by an invisible hand. A soft hum rose from them, a harmony woven from many voices. The lanterns were singing, not alone but together, their flames tied in a gentle chorus. Halfway across, Ren paused. The current below glimmered brighter, and within its flow, he saw shapes of dreams, birds in flight, hands reaching for one another, a child cradled in warmth. Each vision passed swiftly, carried by the current toward a horizon unseen. Ren placed his hand on the railing. He whispered, "May the dreams remain safe, bound together." The silver threads shimmered in response, glowing brighter for a moment before settling again. The bridge seemed to sigh, not in weariness but in peace, as though his words had joined the chorus of its song. When Ren stepped off the far end, the lanterns flickered in unison, and the silver threads dissolved into the night, leaving only the gentle memory of unity. Chapter 28: The Spring of Stars. Ren followed the path until he came upon a clearing where the earth dipped gently into a round basin. At its center lay a spring, small yet impossibly clear, its surface untouched by ripple or breeze. Above, countless stars filled the night sky. Below, every one of them was mirrored in the spring. It was as if Ren were gazing into two skies at once, one above his head, and another beneath his feet. Lanterns stood around the spring in a perfect circle, their flames steady, their reflections mingling with the stars. The water became a tapestry of light, gold from the lanterns, silver from the stars. Ren knelt at the edge and looked down. His reflection appeared, but it was surrounded by constellations, as though he, too, had become part of the heavens. He reached out a hand, and for a moment the stars seemed to tremble, as if answering his gesture. He whispered, "Even the smallest spring holds the sky." The water shimmered, and faint ripples carried the reflected stars outward. The lanterns brightened briefly, as if bowing to the truth of his words. Ren rose slowly, carrying the image of a sky within the earth, and walked on. The spring remained behind him, still and eternal, holding the memory of stars for all who passed. Chapter 29: The Garden of Slumber. The path next led him to a walled garden hidden deep within the grove. The bamboo gave way to stone walls, low and moss-covered, with a wooden gate standing slightly open. Lanterns hung above the entrance, their flames glowing with unusual softness. Ren stepped through, and silence embraced him. Inside the garden, small stone paths wound between patches of grass, carefully pruned trees, and gentle ponds. Every detail was arranged in harmony, yet nothing felt forced. It was a garden meant not for the eyes alone, but for the heart. At the center stood a large lantern carved from stone, its hollow chamber holding a flame that pulsed slowly, like the rhythm of breathing. Around it, smaller lanterns glowed, each nestled among rocks or beside water. Ren walked quietly along the paths. With each step, the air seemed to grow heavier with peace, as if the garden itself were drawing him into a deeper rest. He paused at a pond where koi moved lazily beneath the reflection of lanterns. Their motion was unhurried, like drifting thoughts in the last moments before sleep. He sat on a smooth stone and closed his eyes. The garden did not demand attention, it welcomed stillness. For a time, Ren simply breathed, and the world around him breathed with him. When he opened his eyes again, the stone lantern's flame glowed slightly brighter, as though acknowledging his presence. Ren bowed in gratitude, then rose to continue his path. As he left through the gate, he felt as though the garden had given him a gift a deeper calm, carried quietly in his heart like a seed of sleep waiting to bloom. Chapter 30 The Corridor of Moonlight. Ren walked along the path, which now curved gently between towering bamboo stalks. The moon hung low in the sky, casting silver light through the leaves, forming shifting patterns on the ground. Lanterns lined the corridor, their warm glow mingling with the cool moonlight, creating a serene gradient of light and shadow. The corridor felt endless. Shadows flickered across the path like whispers of the past, yet they carried no fear. Each step Ren took was slow and deliberate, echoing softly against the smooth stones beneath his feet. He paused to breathe deeply. The air was filled with the subtle scent of damp earth and bamboo, mingling with the faint aroma of incense drifting from distant lanterns. The silence was profound, yet full of gentle sounds: the swish of leaves, the faint hum of lantern flames, and the occasional sigh of the wind. As Ren continued, the moonlight intensified, forming a luminous arch above the path. The corridor seemed to stretch beyond the reach of sight, inviting him to walk further, to let go of all tension and simply follow the gentle pull of light. Ren whispered to the night, "Lead me where dreams rest." The lanterns swayed gently, as if bowing in acknowledgement. Step by step, Ren moved deeper into the dreamlike passage, carried by the rhythm of moonlight and shadow. Chapter 31 The Sleep of the Bamboo. The corridor eventually opened into a wide grove, where bamboo grew densely once more. Moonlight poured through the canopy, bathing the stalks in silver. The lanterns scattered among them glowed softly, illuminating pockets of the grove with tender warmth. Ren stepped into the grove, his eyes taking in the quiet majesty of the bamboo. The leaves trembled lightly in the night breeze, and the sound was like a lullaby woven from countless small whispers. He moved slowly, feeling the pulse of the grove around him, the steady rhythm of nature, of light, of air. Every stalk seemed alive, breathing in harmony with the night. Lanterns flickered as he passed, their flames bowing in unison, welcoming him to this final stretch of the path. Ren found a smooth stone and sat down, letting the soft light wash over him. The grove felt endless, protective, and deeply serene. His eyes grew heavy, his breath slowed, and for a long moment, he felt suspended between wakefulness and dream. A faint murmur rose from the grove, the collective sigh of bamboo, lanterns, and night air. It enveloped him in a cocoon of calm. Ren leaned back against a sturdy stalk, closed his eyes, and let sleep come, carrying him into the heart of the grove's gentle embrace. The lanterns glowed softly around him, and the moonlight lingered. painting the bamboo in a silver shimmer, as if blessing the dreams of all who passed through this quiet sanctuary. Chapter 32 The Path of Dreams. Ren rose from the stone and continued along a narrow path winding deeper into the grove. The lanterns here were sparse, but their glow was steady, guiding him forward like gentle sentinels. The bamboo leaned slightly over the path, forming arches of silver light and shadow. Each step felt soft, cushioned by moss and fallen leaves. The air was still, carrying a subtle fragrance of night-blooming flowers. Ren noticed that with every breath, his mind seemed to slow, thoughts drifting gently like petals on a stream. Along the path, he saw glimpses of fleeting images, soft visions of past travelers, children chasing fireflies, animals moving silently between the stalks. None of them disturbed the peace. They were gentle echoes, part of the dreamscape that the grove held. Ren whispered, "Lead me safely through the night." A lantern ahead flickered, then steadied. Its light spread softly over the path, illuminating the way forward. Ren felt a sense of calm certainty. He was not merely walking, but floating within the grove's careful guidance, a dream carried by light and shadow. Chapter 33 The Mist That Carries Light. The path soon widened into a gentle clearing. A soft mist hovered above the ground, thin and luminous, catching the lantern light and scattering it in tiny threads across the grove. The effect was ethereal. Each step Ren took seemed to ripple the mist, sending golden and silver tendrils swirling around him. He paused to watch. Within the mist, faint forms appeared, small, glowing shapes that moved like fireflies but larger, more deliberate. They hovered near lanterns and glided between bamboo stalks, carrying faint threads of light through the fog. Ren realized the mist was alive with memory, each glowing thread a dream or a wish, flowing through the grove quietly. He extended a hand, and one of the lighted threads drifted along his fingers before floating back into the mist. The gentle glow of lanterns and the flowing light of the mist intertwined, forming a corridor of calm brilliance. Ren walked through it, every step slower, deeper, as if moving closer to the heart of the grove's slumber. A soft sigh of wind moved through the bamboo, mingling with the glow. Ren closed his eyes for a moment, letting the mist carry his breath and his thoughts into stillness. When he opened them, the lanterns flickered in quiet applause, as though acknowledging his presence within their dream. Chapter 34 The Bamboo at Dawn. The path began to rise gently, and as Ren walked, he noticed the first faint hints of dawn coloring the sky. The bamboo around him seemed taller, older, more steadfast. Their stalks glimmered faintly in the soft light, silver fading into the palest gold. The lanterns still glowed, but their light was gentle, merging with the emerging morning. The mist had lifted slightly, revealing glimpses of the grove stretching beyond, tranquil and endless. Wren paused to take it all in. The grove was alive with calm leaves whispering, the distant call of a bird awakening, and the faint hum of lantern flames still flickering in quiet rhythm. He realized that the grove had guided him not only through the night but into the first light of a new day. Every step he had taken, every lantern, every reflection, every breath of wind had been a lesson in patience, calm, and the quiet magic of the world. Wren whispered, "Thank you for every path and every light." The bamboos seemed to sway gently in response, their shadows stretching with the growing sun. The grove held its breath, allowing the moment to linger like a final lullaby before waking. Chapter 35 The Last Lantern. At the end of the path, Wren reached a small wooden platform overlooking a gentle hill. There, a single lantern stood, larger than any he had seen. Its flame glowed steadily, a golden heart in the soft dawn light. Wren approached and bowed deeply. He felt a profound stillness, as if all the grove's lights, all the lanterns he had passed, had gathered in this final flame. It seemed to hold every step of his journey, the rivers, the pools, the mist, the foxfire, the stars, and every dream he had glimpsed along the way. He touched the lantern gently, feeling warmth that was not just from the flame but from the memory of the grove itself. Wren whispered, "May your light guide all who come after me." The flame swayed softly, as if acknowledging his words, then settled into calm brilliance. Around him, the bamboo and lanterns glowed faintly one last time, forming a circle of quiet celebration. Wren stepped back, feeling the weight of rest settle fully into his body and heart. He turned slowly, looking back over the path he had walked. Every lantern, every shadow, every reflection seemed to smile quietly, sending him forward with the promise of peace. He exhaled deeply and allowed himself to lean into the stillness, carrying the last light of the grove within him, a heart of calm to guide him into sleep, into dreams, and beyond. Epilogue: The Quiet of Dreams. Wren stood at the edge of the grove, the final lantern glowing steadily beside him. The morning light had softened the night, yet the grove's magic remained a quiet pulse in the air. A lingering warmth in the bamboo, and a gentle hum from the lanterns that seemed almost like a lullaby. He looked back once, over the path he had walked. Mist, streams, bridges, and foxfire all woven together formed a tapestry of memory. Each step, each light, Each reflection had been a whisper guiding him to this moment of peace. Ren took a slow, deep breath. The grove's stillness settled into him, filling his chest, his arms, his legs, every fiber of his being. The lantern swayed softly, as if bowing, and for a moment, he felt the quiet presence of every dream that had passed through this place. He whispered, "May all who come here find rest as I have." The final lantern flickered once, then burned steadily, as if promising to watch over the grove forever. The bamboo swayed gently in the breeze, leaves whispering like soft voices saying goodbye, yet not truly gone, merely waiting for the next dreamer. Ren turned and walked slowly away, carrying the glow within him. He felt lighter than ever, as though the path, the mist, the lanterns, and the grove itself had gifted him a heart of calm. And as he vanished into the morning haze, the grove remained, quiet and eternal. A sanctuary of light and peace, ready to guide the next traveler through the gentle embrace of dreams.